Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Tara, and we are here with our thriving females. Just a couple little housekeeping things before we jump into it with everybody. But we are experiencing some technical difficulties, so we are not streaming to Instagram right now, but we'll make sure that we get that recording up later on. But if you've got any other questions or you want to ask our guest about anything about our topic tonight, make sure you put those comments in there. And then I'm going to toss it on over to Amy.
Hello. I'm Amy, and we're thrilled to have you with us this evening. And keep in mind that we are always looking for amazing, thriving females across the world. So if you yourself are interested, ping us with a note. We can follow back up with you. Or if you know somebody who really could be great for this platform, we want to know about it. So again, thanks for joining us, Sarah.
All right, guys, I'm Sarah, and I'm super excited because this month of June is Brain Health Awareness, and I'm not sure any of you guys know that, but the first person that I thought of for Brain Health Awareness is a woman that I admire that happens to be my boss, and I think she is absolutely thriving in the world of Alzheimer's. And I'm so excited to introduce Jill Smith tonight. And she's got so much knowledge when it comes to Alzheimer's. I want her to tell us a little bit about how you got into it, what your career's been doing, because you've been doing some awesome stuff.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Tara and Amy. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. We have a lot of Alzheimer's holidays, right, Sarah?
We do.
June is Brain and Alzheimer's Awareness Month. September is World Alzheimer's Month. November is National. So we find a way to kind of put it in your face all the time. And honestly, it's because we're really just trying to raise awareness. And so when Sarah gave me this platform to come and speak to all of you incredible women, I thought it was really important to share, the message about Alzheimer's disease because it affects women so heavily, compared to men. But, in preparing me for this, Sarah, said, tell them how you even got involved in this. And, honestly, growing up, I always excelled in school. And when I got to college, I kind of wandered around. I could not for the life of me decide what it is I wanted to do. I always thought I'd be a school teacher. So I dabbled in education. I took a few of their classes. I went over to business and took a few of their classes. I walked past the nursing program and I was like, oh no, that is definitely not for me. And my mom was actually the undergraduate advisor for gerontology, which is the study of aging. A lot of people have never even heard that term before. And she kept saying, just take the intro class. I think you'll like it. And my first teacher in gerontology, who later became my mentor, was the spunkiest older lady I've ever met in my life. She was probably related to that mom, Sophia, in the Golden Girls. She literally looked just like her with the really tight curly hair. But she taught into her 80s. And she actually just passed away 2 years ago. She was 91 years old. And I mean, talk about what an incredible person to teach you about aging and how to age well and how to age successfully. We live in an industry where we're trying to anti-age, right? And I love all these people who come forward and say, I've earned every wrinkle and every frown line and every smile line. I always tell people that. At some point I might dabble in the Botox world, but I haven't gotten there yet. But I always grew up being a carer, a nurturer. Sarah will tell you I'm a problem solver. And so when I came across Alzheimer's disease, it was one of the biggest problems, facing our world, our society. My grandmother had dementia, and my family, her daughters, this was my dad's mom. Her daughters were in complete denial of it. And this was when I was going through school. And I struggled so hard with it because they just wouldn't do anything about it. And the last thing I ever wanted was for someone else I loved to get touched by this. So that is what led me into Alzheimer's research. I've done it for 24 4 years now. It's all I've ever done. So I've worked through the VA. I've worked at the university. I'm now the assistant vice president at an international nonprofit that Sarah and I work for, and we are out there trying to raise awareness, spread brain health education about Alzheimer's and the treatments and the things, and so much about Alzheimer's disease. People are still living with what they thought was the truth 10 or 15 or even 20 years ago. And a lot of it has changed. But I will tell you, as women, we are the nurturers, we are the carers. We have all the risk factors, we have all the changes in our lives, and we're disproportionately affected by Alzheimer's disease, both as people who get it and also as the people who care for others who have it. Over 12 million women in the US are either living with Alzheimer's disease or they care for someone with Alzheimer's disease. And so, LB, thank you for showing these. So, we're the heart of the home. I know I speak for all of us when, it's our moms are the matriarchs of our family. And as they age and they can't do as much, us as daughters step up and we try to fulfill those roles. But there are so many things that put us at higher risk. And just looking at this list, you might have a couple of these things. Rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, scleroderma is a disease I think that's really becoming more prevalent and more people are aware of that much more. Osteoporosis, depression, anxiety. I mean, who isn't a little bit anxious nowadays, right? But all of these things put us at this significantly increased risk. And there are twice as many women as men who live with Alzheimer's disease. And we're also at twice the risk of developing Alzheimer's disease once we hit our 60s as we are as developing breast cancer for the rest of our lives. So if you make it to your 60s and you haven't been affected by anything yet, which I hope we all do, you probably won't get breast cancer. You'll probably get Alzheimer's disease. So it's really
scary. Forward to.
No, exactly. And I mean, these are just some other things, some other risk factors for Alzheimer's disease that you might relate to. Like, how many of us have sleeping problems? We all have sleeping problems. Sarah's like right here. Physical inactivity. I mean, so many of us have desk jobs, so it's really hard to get out and about. But interestingly, education is such a huge thing. So if you went to school, if you went to undergraduate school, if you went to graduate school, you build something called a cognitive reserve, and this actually helps you try to steer off developing memory loss as you get older. Interestingly enough, if you do develop memory loss and you have a very high educational attainment, you actually do tend to progress more quickly than other people, which is really interesting. And these slides don't touch on this. People of diverse and underrepresented backgrounds, Blacks, African Americans, Hispanics, they're at an even higher risk of developing all of this. So if you were a Black woman or a Hispanic woman, you are at 1.5 or 2 times the risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. This is complicated, and I'm going to try not to get super sciencey on you. But looking at Alzheimer's disease, what's really interesting is people start presenting with memory loss like in their 60s. But I bet you a lot of us on this call are in our 30s, our 40s, and our 50s. And that's actually when
I was like, keep going up, Jill.
Yeah.
Or 60
plus.
In your 40s and 50s, it's honestly when the stuff in your brain starts changing. And there are the earliest genetic biomarkers that show you're probably going to go on to develop Alzheimer's disease. So, I mean, we don't think about memory loss and Alzheimer's until later, but ladies, this is actually something we should be worrying about right now today, and going back, thinking about what were those risk factors she showed. I need to cross all of those off my health list and really get a good handle on myself. But the biggest thing I think people take for granted is having a good night's sleep. And I'm sure all of you work, your moms, your caretakers and everything, and that's probably the hardest thing for any of us to get, but it's one of the most valuable things. But anyway, That was just a little dabble. I probably went too long, Sarah.
No, you didn't. You did great. I knew Jill would come completely prepared. And what we do is work with research. And I actually have two friends who can't watch the live tonight, but they're very anxious to watch the recording later. But there's still an apprehension, or so I will tell you, one of my friends' moms got Alzheimer's, and it was never discussed with them about the option of research. Jill, can you talk a little bit about doing research, participating in research, the good things about it?
Absolutely. So when you think of people who get cancer, or like cancer is the big one, heart disease, like their standard of care is almost looking into research options. And unfortunately, we don't consider this for Alzheimer's disease. And Sarah, I think probably, what they said with your mom, they don't really talk about it. There's so much social stigma behind Alzheimer's. And the biggest reason why is because, you're threatening to take away my independence. Maybe I can't live alone. Maybe I can't drive anymore. But what people don't realize is, denial is not just the river in Egypt. Like if you ignore it, it's only going to get worse. And so what Sarah and I really go out into the communities and try to spread the word about is, you know, besides Sarah, Tara and Amy, do you think there's a cure for Alzheimer's, or is there even a way to stop it? If I ask both of you that, what do you think?
So that was actually going to be one of my questions to you. In the last 7 to 10 years, where are we? My grandfather had it and
Yeah.
passed many years ago, and it was devastating. And I was so excited, or we were so excited, that you were coming on this evening to really break through some of those chains, because
Yes.
there's a little bit of intel out there, but not as much as we would think we should know, right? So yeah, I don't know that answer. And
Well, you just said like you felt very hopeless probably with your grandfather because there was nothing you could do.
yeah, and
And
this
that,
was years ago.
yeah.
And you you kind of put your hands up and go, what is there, right?
You
So
just manage their behaviors until they pass away. That's kind of what people did. It terrifies me to hear primary care doctors today say, well, there's nothing you can do. And that's honestly probably the biggest reason why they don't even try to talk about memory loss with senior patients, because they think there's nothing you can do. There actually is so much progress, both in diagnosing Alzheimer's disease and also with treating Alzheimer's disease. There's now different kinds of blood-based biomarkers that we've been studying. That's such a great thing to be able to do a blood test, right? Oh my gosh, I have Alzheimer's, I have risk for that. Those will become
Grey's
more,
Anatomy episode right
I
there.
know. I think those will become more readily available in the next couple of years. The first one by Fuji Ray Bio was just FDA approved like 10 days ago, and Sarah and I's company really attributed to that becoming readily available for people. But in the meantime, there's also, if you've ever heard of PET scans, they're used a lot in cancer. There's actually a kind of PET scan you can use for Alzheimer's disease. And it shows the buildup of the proteins. But doctors don't know that, and they don't know how to get insurance to cover it. And it's like $8,000. And so nobody does it. But there are so many pathways to be able to get that, especially through research. Everybody loves, comparing the established PET scan to something new. And I tell people that is the easiest, coolest way to get it for free. And then you get some new test that's not even available to someone else yet. But I think with this age population, everybody says, I don't want to be a guinea pig. And older people are the ones who are like, I've had a great life. I'm not worried, it is what it is. But it's like, I hope we change that for our parents. And I hope our generation is certainly different moving forward with that. But there are treatments, they're infusion-based treatments. So it's like getting an IV, and they actually go into the brain and they break up the protein and they can remove it. There's a new drug that's going to have some clinical trials soon. I won't say the company and I won't say the name publicly. You can
Right.
stalk me privately and we can have another conversation. But after 3 infusions of this medication, the protein that causes Alzheimer's disease wasn't even detectable in the patient's
Oh,
brain.
wow.
So I mean, this is incredible. I mean, this would change. But what's the key to all of this? Early detection. And as we get older, we think, oh, I'm just getting older. I'm forgetful. And unfortunately, a lot of people still present to doctors, and they actually have progressed quite a bit into the disease. There's something called mild cognitive impairment. That's like between normal and Alzheimer's disease. And that's where we hope to catch people before they even have the true clinical impairments that are known for Alzheimer's disease. With mild cognitive impairment, you really just kind of start having memory problems. And that's exactly the time point you want to intervene with something aggressive like these new therapies that can, and we call them disease modifying. It can change the disease.
So,
Um,
how do you work with maybe family members that are resistant to believing that there's something? I'm sure you hear this
yeah.
fairly often. It-
You
you know,
know, I think the biggest thing is talking about it with your loved ones and not talking about it in the comfort of home and talking about it in the sense of um, we're trying to help.
coming from
We
a place of
this is
care.
this is a problem that's going to get worse, and if we do something now, we can give you. I believe in quality over quantity. I don't care how long I live. I want to live a good life. I don't want to live a life where people have to take care of me and I'm dependent on other people. And so, it's hard because all of those things are really scary to talk about. But I think it's really important. And I mean, honestly, like I even talk to my parents now. They don't have memory problems, but at some point they may start to develop them. And when they do, they know that. I mean, they're funny. I'll tease them and start asking them questions, and they're like, "Are you testing me?" Because they think I'm trying to check. But it's something that I think we just have to talk so openly about. Your grandparents and my grandparents, they lived in a generation where you didn't say
That's right.
Alzheimer's. I mean,
Yeah.
you were considered senile. I mean, that's such a horrible word. Dementia, things like that. So,
So, Jill, can you talk about what those differences are? Because I think a lot of people commonly use dementia, but then you hear about Alzheimer's. And so,
honestly, saying dementia is like saying I have the flu. Well, what kind of flu do you have? Dementia just means you have memory loss, but there's lots of different kinds of dementia. And I appreciate you bringing that up. The most common one is Alzheimer's disease. So everybody thinks it's the same thing. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how many medical records I've reviewed in my career where someone was just diagnosed as unspecified dementia, which basically means your doctor didn't give you a good enough workup to figure out what is causing the memory problems. He's just labeled you as having memory problems. So, Alzheimer's is the most common. I'm sure many of you have had loved ones who've had strokes. So, vascular dementia is related to stroke. There's something called frontal temporal dementia. That's where you get kind of brain atrophy in the front and sides of your brain. You may have heard of something called Lewy body dementia. That's caused by a protein. It's actually related to Parkinson's. And Parkinson's is, in fact, another dementia. And that's characterized by people that have like the tremor. Just because your loved one has a tremor doesn't mean they have Parkinson's, but the Parkinson's patients have very pronounced tremors. But there's many types of dementia. It's just that Alzheimer's is the most common.
I do have to bring up when she talks about research, and I see this a lot, and I want people to listen to this, is a lot of older women that I've talked to. They are participating. They will tell me, I am participating because I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter, they're going to have kids, and I don't want it to affect them because my mother had it, my grandmother had it. So if I can make a difference by participating just a little bit, I know that I've set a better chance for them to have it. And that always just is like, so amazing when you hear them say that.
It's incredibly true. If it's not going to help me, and you'll get benefits. It may not be the most direct benefit. It may not stop your Alzheimer's, but there are benefits to participating in research no matter what. But I mean, none of this is going to go away. So, like the four of us, how many of us are on prescription medications? All of those were made available.
Hi, Amy.
Good for you, Amy. But all of those are made available because of clinical trials. Like, I don't think people realize that. And I wish I could tell you there was some magic uh, vitamin that you could take that would make Alzheimer's disease go away, or some food that you could eat. But unfortunately, there's not. I mean, something as aggressive as this, there's just not. There are things you can do throughout your lifetime to decrease your risk of getting it. There you go. So Sarah and I use this program a lot. It's called Activate Your Brain. It's the 8 pillars for having good brain health. So I will. A lot of these are pretty transparent. Exercising your brain. I will say. I have so many people that say I do a crossword puzzle every day, and I'm like, that's great. That's like you go to the gym and you use one piece of exercise equipment and you turn around and you leave. Like, you gotta exercise all the
But I did it.
time. But no, so, I mean, that is something. But I tell people you gotta exercise. The word. Using words, using numbers, using colors, using shapes. I have to laugh. These what is the game? Candy Crush, and like all of these, like, I'm stuck on this knot untangling game right now, and Knot Busters, I think it's called. Those are such great games because you visually have to like manipulate things and figure out how to solve it. But visual spatial is one of the first areas impacted by Alzheimer's disease. So it's like there's all different things, learning a different language, putting puzzles together, painting. It's so important to do like all different things. I wanted to touch on that. And the eating well. I give you permission to have a glass of red wine every day, um, and eat a small piece of dark chocolate. So both of those have something called resveratrol in them. And resveratrol is thought to be very protective of the brain. It's things like antioxidants. You can find those in green leafy vegetables and certain berries, but they actually help stabilize the damage of you. I don't know if you've ever heard of free radicals. They're just cells that have kind of gone berserk in your body. They go berserk in your brain
I
too.
got a lot of those.
Yeah.
And everybody with their red wine glasses are like this. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to that, right?
Like one. Now, do you ever see the Betty White meme where she's holding up like this giant? That's not a glass of wine. A glass of wine. I think they say like 6 ounces, but I'm going to be nice and tell you 8. And some people have said, I drink white wine. Does that have a benefit? And it's interesting. The resveratrol is only found in the skin of red grapes. So white wine might not be bad, but you can't drink. Alcohol has this funny U-shaped curve. You can get a benefit from drinking a little bit of it, like wine, but too much of it, that's another risk factor for developing memory problems.
So, Jill,
go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, I mean, reflecting on the years that you've been obviously in this platform, what would you say is your biggest aha that you're most proud of in terms of how you've made your footprint and your impact in this space?
So we talked a lot about the social stigma that Alzheimer's disease causes. And one initiative that my company has jumped on is using mobile research units. And that's where we actually go out into the community to places where seniors are already frequenting, where it's a place of trust and comfort. It could be a church, it could be a senior center, it could be a wellness center. And we have tried to go there where they're at, and just talk about brain health and kind of start that conversation with them. And then eventually, sometimes they let us do a memory screening on them, and then that starts the conversation. But
I love that you said that, and opening up that door, right? I mean, really saying, hey, let's talk about it. Let's put it on the table.
I know.
Let's understand this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's great.
So my question is, because I have 2 listeners that are listening tonight. So Jill, what advice? Their moms both have Alzheimer's. What would you tell them? Because one says, I don't want to know.
The mom says, I don't want to know.
The daughter says, I don't want to know if I have Alzheimer's or not. So I want you to give advice to these 2 young girls that both moms have Alzheimer's.
For themselves or for their moms or both? Probably
Themselves.
for themselves.
Themselves. Yes.
For themselves. So again, like we can pretend things don't exist, but they don't go away. And if you ignore it, then you're ignoring the obvious. And it's just, I would rather hit something. I think one of the things they said the very beginning of this was I was a problem solver. If it's going to be a problem, fix the problem before it's a problem. Identify that it could be a problem and address it head on, because you can only dodge Alzheimer's disease so long. I mean, I hate to say that, but that's really the truth. It'll catch up with you, and if you let it run its course, you may not even know it anymore, but it's going to catch up with the people that have to care about you. And I think for me, that's what's really hard. I always think about I hate to use the word burden because I never want people to feel bad, but the impact that it has on families, on spouses, on adult children. And I think, just because your mom or dad has it is not a guarantee that you're going to get it. The genetics of Alzheimer's disease are super kooky. I mean, this far in my career, I would tell you the risk factors are probably a greater impact unless both your parents had Alzheimer's disease. So I just living your healthiest life, I think is the best thing that we can all do. Again, those choices start now in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s. Like, it's not just waking up at 65 and thinking, my friends are starting to get memory problems. Maybe I should start eating some dark chocolate or exercise a little bit more or start. I mean, it's never. You should always do it. It's never too late, but it certainly would be more impactful starting early on.
And get involved in research because it is.
I know. Listen to Sarah. Get involved in research.
It is. I have seen amazing things happening. That's why with Alzheimer's, and it's getting involved. I mean, we haven't fixed it, but there's a lot of things that have prolonged it. Instead of seeing a lot of signs early, you're seeing them later. So you've given a little bit more time to that person, which I think is important.
And knowledge is power, right?
It really is.
I mean, the more we know, the more we can do. And that's why this platform, and you, Jill and Sarah, what you bring to the table for all these people is a big, big deal. So thank you.
It's scary. And if you don't have someone inside, it feels almost, no doubt, feels overwhelming. And so all of you, reach out to me, reach out to Sarah. I'll schedule a call with you and we can share a cup of coffee together and talk about things. I can't tell you how many people have said, my mom went to this clinic and they offered her this study or this study. Jill, if it were your parents, what would you do? And I will 100% give you my honest opinion. I'll tell you all the facts and I'll tell you what you should think about and help you. I won't make the decision for you, but I'll help you make your best decision. But yeah, really.
And Jill means that. She will.
Really, truly. I mean, the medications that are being studied right now are unreal. And I hope there's a couple that are FDA approved, but it's just being approved and being available are very different topics. So I hope they become more readily.
See why she's thriving, everyone?
Right?
Alzheimer's. And let me tell you, this woman we'll get so clinical on something. And I'm like, yeah, after that call, I'll call her. I'm like, bring it down.
Cutting edge, off the chain.
It
right?
is off the chain clinical stuff. And I'm like, even a doctor, I don't even think. And then she gives it. I'm like, oh, I understand it. Oh, I'll teach that now. She's so good at explaining everything. And I really give her kudos for that. She can make anybody understand why research is so important and anything about Alzheimer's. So,
Jill, any website that you can share for our viewers or contact information so that they can follow up with you after tonight?
No. Yeah, absolutely.
You're like, no.
No, absolutely. You guys probably have an email list. Our emails are unfortunately really long at work. It's jsmith at global ALZ like zebra platform.org. The Alzheimer's Association, ALZ.org, is an unbelievably education-rich website. You can ask Sarah or myself about. We've got all kinds of literature about that Activate Your Brain program we show, but we're happy to educate and inform and answer all your questions for sure.
Well, I do. Before we say goodbye to Jill and thank her, we actually, Amy, do you want to talk really quick? I have a guest coming up and you have a guest coming up. Do you want to like just take a quick, we don't have the date yet, but she's going to be talking to us. You want to tell us a little bit about her?
So I will. So I was just in Nashville and I met this amazing performer. She is off the chain crazy. Talent, just beaming talent. And she has been studying music and the overall foundation of a pianist and a vocalist and the whole nine for a number of years. So she's going to be a guest of ours very soon. We're going to nail down the date and make it happen. So yeah, so stay tuned for that, gang.
And we also, I have Rachel Paul. She was a guest on the season 5 weight extreme. I'm going to say it wrong. Extreme weight loss. That's what it was. She was a season 5 winner on that. So she reached out to me, which I think that is great. She said, I would love to share my stories. So I think that is amazing. So those you guys will see coming up in July. But again, not only is she my boss, but she's my friend and I admire her every day. And I think she's thriving. Thank you, Jill, for being on here with us.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing. I love women lifting up women. That's the best.
We do. We love putting the spotlight on everybody, and you totally deserved it this month. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. And keep an eye out for our announcements for when we've got those dates coming up for the 2 amazing women coming our way.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.